Hello, welcome back to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. Today is December 30th, 2025. I think it's going to be it's going to be the last time that I'm going to say 2025. Can't wait for me to screw it up when I say the day and the year now. What we are doing today is we are reviewing every single move that Joe Schoen has made as the general manager of the New York Football Giants. We are about to wrap up year 4 and probably head into year 5 of Joe Schoen, unless we can have a Liam Cohen, Trent Baalke situation, which is the Hail Mary that I think we're all hoping for. Or maybe they just come to their natural senses and they fire Joe Schoen. We'll talk about that on Friday with Sean. But I kind of today, no interview. So I'm like, what can I do that's somewhat simple that won't make me want to rip my hair out from a preparation standpoint? Because this is definitely a topic that's it's not going to be fun if you're going to be hanging out and watching, because it's going to make you mad. But I think it's informative and it's nice. Nice isn't the word. It's a reflection. It's a reflection piece on overlooking everything that Joe Schoen has done. So again, I'm mentioning this guy in back-to-back pods, Ryan Henderson, and I want to get the right name. Ryan's Big Blue Podcast. He's hanging out in the chat right now. I came on his show last week, and we kind of went through every single pick of the Joe Schoen era. Like, we just went through the draft classes, and we gave it like a pass-fail, a grade and stuff like that, which I'm not really going to give it a grade. I'm not really much of a grade person. And also, why am I going to give a grade when we all have come to the consensus that the dude should be fired to begin with? But this is kind of like his exercise that I did with him. And I'm like, well, let's just blow it up and let's just go through every single move, including draft classes, free agency, the limited extensions that he's done, like Thomas extension, the Dex extension, the Jones extension, and things like that. So we're gonna go through it. I did not compile UDFAs. That is the one thing I forgot. Shout out Deontay Johnson. Bryce Ford Wheaton too. Good UDFA. Probably his best one. All right, so let's start off with the 2022 draft class. And if you're hanging out, I'm live streaming this on a Tuesday night. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being with me. Why don't you like the stream, comment, hang out. Maybe I'll do some Q&A stuff at the end, but appreciate all of you hanging out. Excited for the offseason. Even if I'm not excited about the direction of the team, I'm excited for the offseason, excited for the content. Sean and I can have different types of conversations too, which I'm really excited about. Thanks for hanging out. Let's get to the 2022 draft class. Now, believe it or not, this draft class somehow isn't as bad as what we thought it could be, or as we thought it was 1 to 2 years ago. But I don't want to put rose-colored glasses on just because now it just looks like a pretty pig with some lipstick on, right? The main thing that I want to talk about and highlight, outside of like, is Kayvon a good player, Evan Neal, Wan'Dale Robinson, Josh, like instead of just going simply through the players, the main thing that I want to highlight, especially as it relates to the team right now and what we want this offseason to possibly be for the Giants from a draft capital standpoint. Look at the capital that they had in 2022. This is a once every 10 to 15, maybe even more year type of opportunity that they had in 2022. They had 2 top 10 picks, 5 picks inside the top 100, 7 picks inside the top 115, and 9 picks inside the top 150. So you could look at it, maybe there's some years where I remember the Cardinals a couple years back, and hey, it's when they traded out of the top 5 and they gave Houston pick 3 of the 2023 draft, where they drafted Will Anderson, right? Like the Cardinals in their 2024 draft was just a complete, like, oh my God, look at all the capital that they have, right? So, you could stumble your way into 10 picks, 9 picks inside the top 50, maybe top 100. Giants had 5 picks inside the top 100, but the cherry on top, and add some whipped cream to it, was that they had all these picks with 2 top 10 picks on top of that as well. And this should have been a franchise-altering draft, like the franchise that turns this team around. And instead, I really do feel you are feeling the after effects of the lack of success that Joe Schoen has had in his first 2 years now more than ever. You didn't feel the 2022 draft class and it not being that good in 2023. I mean, sure, you felt it. You didn't really ultimately feel it in 2023 or even in 2022 in the moment, right? I think you feel it now when these players are up for extensions, when Evan Neal, you're declining his 5th-year option, when we're debating is Wan'Dale Robinson worth $15-16 million a year. The Josh Azudu pick pains me probably more than anything. But all these guys, and this even includes like Dane Belton at pick 114, right? When all these guys are kind of up for extensions, like what, one of these guys, 2 of these guys with Wan'Dale Robinson and Cordell Flott, and then maybe Kayvon Thibodeau, depending on what his asking price is, but he's not healthy and hasn't been overly productive over the last couple of years. Like none of these guys are just none of them. Forget, like there's some debatable. None of them are slam dunk. Oh my God, you gotta have these guys back. And they had 9 picks inside the top 150 and 7 picks inside the top 115. 5 of them inside the top 100, 2 of them inside the top 10, and this was nowhere near like franchise. You know what? It is a franchise altering draft because it set the franchise back. That's how bad this draft class is. Even though it somehow has looked a little bit better over the last couple years, like Kayvon Thibodeau, I actually think the last 2 years he's overall improved as a football player compared to what he was doing in 2023, despite him getting double-digit sacks in 2023. I thought he was a bad tackle merchant. I thought he had a lot of his production in very small doses and small bursts, and then he would have games where he kind of flat out just disappeared. But 2024 and then 2025 to start off the year and for like half the year, Kayvon Thibodeau was playing with his hair on fire, and he was a pretty solid, good, overall, well-rounded football player. Evan Neal, I have a hard time like just shitting on the Giants for that because everybody and their mother thought that Evan Neal was the pick. Everybody remembers the thing that went viral after the 2022 draft of Dallas Cowboys, kind of like at the time a notoriously known good drafting team. At the time, Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau, number 1 and number 2 on Dallas Cowboys board. That was the thing that came out. So, at the time, Evan Neal, fine. There's even still people in the building now with Paul Schwartz articles that have come out that are just wondering how in the world that went wrong. The balance issues, there was one little video that Chris Long made after the draft and where he talked about Evan Neal's balance issues. Lo and behold, that has defined literally his entire NFL career. But Kayvon has improved over the last 2 years. His overall story and his overall standing with the team and what they should do with them, and it's very complicated. If they draft like an Arvo Reese, if they draft like a Ruben Bain this upcoming April, then I think that automatically means that Kayvon Thibodeau is traded, and I would look to trade him that draft weekend because at that point there's just way too many mouths to feed. I think they have a good problem right now with a lot of good football players. Kayvon Thibodeau on that 5th-year option is cheap. It's a 1 more year commitment. If you're not going to go edge rusher at the top of the draft, I would keep Kayvon Thibodeau around and keep the good problem. Make it a good problem, and then just see how he does on that 5th-year option. But no, overall, definitely not what you expect out of a top 5 pick. Wan'Dale Robinson, we'll continue to debate him. Giants actually traded back twice, if you remember, in that 2022 draft to get Wan'Dale Robinson, which I thought that was good process. With trading back twice, one of those trade backs, they get the picks for Dane Belton, and in another one of the trade backs, they get the pick for Micah McFadden. That's very good process, and it was even like decent results. Kind of free draft picks, right? Getting Dane Belton, getting Micah McFadden, 2 players that on day 3 that have somewhat contributed for you, right? So I even like that process. I don't love picking Wan'Dale Robinson there in that spot. Wan'Dale Robinson has been a fine player that has contributed, but at that point, middle of the 2nd round, sort of top-ish of the 2nd round, I think you would want a player that would contribute. And also I feel like you would want to feel safer about extending, right? Not worrying about paying this guy $17-18 million like he's probably going to want, and then worrying that that's going to be a bad contract. Josh Azudu, this is the pick that makes me the most pissed off and mad because Joe Schoen came into the Giants in 2022 where he said, I have the top 4 rounds of the draft done. And this was also at the time where Chris Petty and certain other members of the front office that were from the Gettleman days and even from going back to the Jerry Reese days, he fully didn't get a chance. You can't. Like when you're hired in January and then the draft is at the end of April, you fully can. All right, let's revamp our scouting department, right? So Joe Schoen was kind of going off of his own evaluations, especially for the first 4 rounds of the draft, that he said that was already done. His own evaluations, the first 4 rounds of the draft, was already done by the time that he walked into the door. And on top of that, they openly admitted as well that this draft and this 2022 draft was all about filling and plugging in holes. When I think, especially as you get away from the first round, the second round of the draft, when you get closer to day 3, when you get even the middle of the third round, finding good football players, regardless of the position that they play, should be at a premium in the NFL draft, especially on day 3. Why are you like, oh, we need a safety? If you're going into day 3 of the NFL draft and you're like, oh, we really need a safety, we really need an interior defense lineman, that's how you lose. That is losing football. That is a losing process. And he openly admitted, this isn't me speculating, Joe Schoen has openly admitted in the past, stemming away from 2023, stemming away from 2022, heading into 2023, 2024, has openly admitted, when being asked about the lack of production of the 2022 draft class, openly admitted that they were simply looking to fill positions instead of trying to just find good football players, regardless of the positions, because they were like, oh, we just had nobody. We just had nobody heading into 2022, which is true, but that shouldn't ultimately be your guiding principle when you have so many 9 picks inside the top 150. Just looking to fill positions should not be the guiding principle of how you go about drafting, right? So that's what they did. And this Josh Ezeudu pick feels like it's the first scenario and example of that, right? Now, the guy had quick feet coming from North Carolina, but this was the first. Wando Robinson was a little out of left field too, but at least you can understand it. Like he was getting the Cole Beasley comparisons, but the Josh Ezeudu pick was the first straight out of left field where it's like, what? Like, who is this guy? Where is this guy coming from? Why was this guy picked 67th? I think that's something that we forget too. Top of the third round, 67th pick of the 2022 NFL draft is Josh Ezeudu. Forget the mismanagement of him. I still think that, I'm not saying he could have been a good guard, but I think he could have been a backup guard in the NFL. And now he's nothing. He will not be brought back. I don't even, he probably go to like a practice squad for another team, right? But there are some people that I think even in the Giants building too, from some things that we've heard, that had Josh Ezeudu as graded as a day 3 pick. Not a top of the third round guy, but graded as a day 3 pick. And this was a guy that was taken in the third round. Even more than the Evan Neal pick, because Evan Neal just failed. It's a wash, but everybody wanted Evan Neal. All the analysts, like everybody that's smart, said that Evan Neal is going to be the truth, and he wasn't. Okay, shit happens, especially it happens here. But the Josh Ezeudu pick is the first example of this. Really pisses me off. Cordell Flott at pick 81, taken really, really young, and that was a main theme of this draft class as well. I think he was drafted at the time like 20 years old. Right now he's 24 years old, and he's still very, very young. And that's one of the Cordell Flott, and that thought process of taking players really, really young, probably the best example of best case scenario of why you can do that and why that's beneficial, right? Because by the time that his rookie contract's up, he's probably even entering the prime of his career right now. I would say his first 3 years weren't anything spectacular. Definitely his first 2 years. I thought 2024 was a nice foundation year of being a backup. And now he's flipped it around and he's like top 10, top 5 in coverage EPA, and he's top 10, top 5 in average target separation among cornerbacks with like 300 coverage snaps. And like Pat Surtain and like other good corners are like just right above Cordell Flott in those like advanced stats. So I don't know what his market is. I don't know what his I don't know what the market around Cordell Flott's going to look like. I don't know what the next defensive coordinator is going to want out of Cordell Flott. Like, I also wouldn't even be mad if we have a defensive coordinator that will look up and down at Cordell Flott and be like, you are a paperclip. You are as light as a feather. I want you out because I want corners that are bigger, more physical, and better run defenders. And honestly, if the next defense coordinator or even the next GM were to look at Cordell Flott and be like, why am I going to give you $8 to $10 million a year when you're that light and you're kind of a liability as a run defender? Even if he gives a lot of effort, he still is a liability as a run defender. Like, I don't care how much you try. If you're 180 pounds, you're a liability as a run defender, especially now as an outside corner. that's how the next regime may look at Cordell Flott, and it'll kind of suck because it's like the good value at pick 81, right? Really good value, and it turns into kind of nothing and just getting one really good year out of Cordell Flott and another year of him being the backup. Daniel Bellinger I view as a successful day 3 draft pick. It's a guy that I hope stays around. He's a decent blocker, very good move blocker, H-back, has that versatility. He's reliable. He's nothing spectacular as a receiver, but he's reliable. You know what you're going to get out of Daniel Bellinger. That's a successful day 3 pick. Dane Belton, this also felt like, similar to Josh Azudu, just we need a safety on day 3, and we got to take a safety. I never, coming out of Iowa, I never saw anything that made me go like, wow, out of Dane Belton. Not a failure of draft pick because he's a day 3 pick that stayed for the majority of all of his rookie contract. But certainly I don't think should be more successful as, I don't know, as a top 115 pick. Micah McFadden, successful day 3 pick. I think Joe Schoen's best day 3 pick as of now. It's a shame that he got hurt this year. And then the rest of these guys are just a wash. I mean, I would even say DJ Davidson is like somewhat successful because he was really, really bad. Like he had really bad film in Arizona State and really bad to start out his NFL career. And he's just like an okay backup. So sure, that's successful. The rest of them are a wash. Darian Beavers just got hurt. So again, the draft capital is the main story of this draft class, and Joe Schoen really wasn't able to replicate it. If anything, going into next year in 2023, the draft capital gets a lot worse because Joe Schoen decides to trade up for Deonte Banks and then also trade up for Jalen Hyatt. I am going to do trades as its own separate quantity of reviewing every move for Joe Schoen, reviewing every move Joe Schoen has made as GM, including trading back twice for Wando Robinson, so we'll talk about that specifically when we get there. But Deonte Banks, they traded up 1 pick. John Michael Schmidt, Jalen Hyatt, Eric Gray, Trey Hawkins, Jordan Riley, Javarius Owens. What makes this draft class even worse is that they did trade up for 2 players, and they are complete busts that wound up costing the Giants extra players since they chose to trade up for them. That's what makes Deonte Banks and Jalen Hyatt hurt even worse. Is because they costed you, I think, they costed you 3 players. They costed you 3. Yep, they costed you 3 players in total. Because the Giants wound up giving up 2 picks for Deonte Banks, and then they gave up 1 additional pick for trading up for Jalen Hyatt. So it costed you 3 extra players that you could have drafted, and even if they're busts, even if they're not good, just 3 extra players that could have been cheap for 4 years, right? Even if they're Dane Belton, even if they're Daniel Bellinger, even if they're DJ Davidson, at least it's a shot that they could have been here for 4 years and filled some sort of role on a roster. And that's what makes Deonte Banks and Jalen Hyatt hurt so much more. I think of Moneyball when I think of this draft class, right? There's bad, there's 50 feet of shit, and then there's this. And that's what this draft class really is. Banks never had good film coming out of Maryland. I don't care what anybody says. He had 2 interceptions and 11 passes defended in 30 college games. So I don't even think he was that great of a college prospect to begin with. He was fast and he was confident. He can run in a straight line, and he was athletic and he was confident. That was the best things about Deonte Banks. He got beat at the release. He didn't have ball production, and he didn't have ball skills. Like I said, even going back to college, he didn't have that. And he wasn't a good run defender in college. That was the 1 pick that unanimously on this show, when you listen to Deonte Banks draft reaction, probably like the 1 first-round pick that we were just like, yeesh, man. Like, I don't know. I was trying to like give some sort of positive spins about, Jerome Henderson, and like you gotta coach this guy up, and trying to give that positive spin, but it was reaching. I was a big Brian Branch guy. He wound up going to the 2nd round and being the complete stud for the Detroit Lions. I even said it wrong right there. How do you like that? But this draft class is awful, and it's been analyzed a ton. JMS is the best pick of this draft, and that's the danger of taking, they kind of went in the opposite route with the JMS pick of they took an older prospect. I think he was 24 at the time, 23, 24, really an older prospect, and he did not hit the ground running. And now we're getting to year 4, and John Michael Schmitz. Let me look up his exact age. I'm actually very curious. John Michael Schmitz. JMS is 26 and he's turning 27 in March. So yeah, we have a player that's going to be going into year 4 next year. And I don't know, man, like how much better is JMS going to get? I don't think that much, even though he's still technically on his rookie deal. He's turned into a serviceable player, but not one that I still think that the Giants should further invest in. Like Austin Schlottman has come in, the Giants' backup center, and it feels like the offense hasn't necessarily fully missed a beat. And I think that's a little bit of a reflection on JMS. Hyatt, we don't even need to talk about it. I mentioned on Sunday's show that 10.5% of Jalen Hyatt's career targets have gone as interceptions. The Eric Gray pick and the Giants not picking again until pick 172. The further cost of trading away those 3 picks is that they pick 73 and then they don't pick for another 99 picks. The Eric Gray pick is we loved at the time, but the dude just could not hold on to the ball. Didn't necessarily. I don't think he had like this major fumbling problem in college, but that is literally defined his NFL career. He's fumbled in the preseason. He's fumbled in training camp. He's fumbled in the regular season. That's what he does, and it's a shame that he couldn't even be a kick returner. Just complete bust of a pick. But it's day 3. It's tough to call day 3 picks like total busts, right? Even though there were high expectations for Eric Gray. Trey Hawkins is tough because he breaks his back last year against the Saints. He has like this major breakout game. I still like Trey Hawkins. It's not a successful pick. It's not a failure. It's a day 3 pick. He was a backup. They thrust him into a starting role in his first ever NFL game against the Dallas Cowboys because the Giants didn't believe that they had a slot corner on the roster, so they needed to put Adoree Jackson in there. How fucking dumb was that? Deonte Banks starting outside. Trey Hawkins starting on the outside, and we have Adoree Jackson in the slot because we don't feel confident that we can put Cordell Flott there because Cordell Flott was a horrible training camp corner for a couple years. So that's this draft class, man. This is the worst of the worst for Joe Schoen. And again, there's less darts. Like the 2 worst picks of this class, he lost more draft capital and he lost more picks and possible hits, even if they're not high leverage like picks. He lost more opportunities for this draft class to look a little bit better because he traded up 1 pick to get Deonte Banks, which costed them 2 players, and then he traded 16 spots up for Jalen Hyatt. Just awful. Awful. Before I keep going, I do want to talk to you about the DraftKings Sportsbook because that's what I want to talk to you about right now. Holiday football has arrived, and with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NFL, the unexpected could turn game day into payday. And don't forget, DraftKings has your back with early exit. This is awesome. If your player goes down in the first half, you can still get paid in cash. Oh, yeah. Here's the best part. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code JMFootball. That's code JMFootball. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins instantly. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. There's something that I want to do behind the scenes. I'm going to add another trade. I'm going to add another graphic. And bang, we're done. We are done. Let's move on to the 2024 draft class. That's where things get a little bit better, right? Malik Neighbors, obviously a slam dunk. This is the best draft capital-wise the Giants have had since 2022, the most, with 4 picks inside the top 107, 4 picks inside the top 110, 3 picks inside the top 70. There is still part of me that has the slightest bit of faith in Tyler Nubin. Obviously, we know that Malik Neighbors is a home run at pick 6. Very good process, too. Probably, here's the best part about this draft before I get to Tyler Nubin. The best part about this draft is not forcing, especially now looking back on it, not forcing J.J. McCarthy, not forcing Michael Penix. Because there were people that were slamming the table. And if you want to argue Bo Nix, all right, fine. But I still say go argue with the wall. But the 2 guys at the time, J.J. McCarthy especially, and then maybe even Michael Penix, right? Very good process when there was so much outside pressure and possibly even internal pressure as well. Outside pressure to go quarterback. And they got clowned. They got clowned for not taking J.J. McCarthy. And, hey, they wanted to trade up and get Jaden Daniels and Drake May. They were willing to do that. Drake May is about to win an NFL MVP award. Jaden Daniels won Rookie of the Year last year. He got hurt. But ultimately, Like the guy that they were most eyeing was Drake May, and the guy that they were even in the ballpark of remotely trading up for was Drake May. The Patriots weren't having it. Good on them. Congrats on your MVP quarterback. Hope you guys enjoy your half-year drought without having a really good quarterback, right? So that's honestly the best part about this specific draft class is the process of not forcing a quarterback. You get a really good player in Malik Neighbors, and now that's a foundational piece that we have for the quarterback that we have on the roster now that you picked next year, right? You waited. They were clowned on, and even members of the own fan base were clowning on them for not taking quarterback because they needed one. They took the best player. They stuck to their process. They stuck to their guns. That's really good. It's one of the, I think it's one of the best things that Joe Schoen has done as general manager is passing on J.J. McCarthy and even Michael Penix. And you get Malik Neighbors out of it too, which I'm still really excited about Malik Neighbors. Very excited for him to come back. But again, even getting to Tyler Nubin, they did initially have two picks in the second round. They traded away one of them for Brian Burns, which we will talk about that in the trade. So this pick 47 is the Seahawks pick that they wound up getting for Leonard Williams. And there still is part of me that has the slightest bit of faith in Tyler Nubin. And here's why. This defense that this Giants run over the last 2 years, I have not seen once, not a single time, a safety break on a football and make a play on a football. Forget an interception. Like just go like side, like horizontally, side to side, and pounce on a football and make a play on a football. I haven't seen it once. So Tyler Nubin, could he be not as good of a player as we thought? Sure, probably. He's even regressed as a run defender this year, which I still think he can maybe have. He maybe has something in him from what we saw in his rookie year. I didn't expect the type of run defender, the type of tackler, the type of physicality that we saw from Tyler Nubin. I didn't fully expect that from his rookie year. I expected him making plays on the football and stuff like that. But Shane Bowen, this is where I get to evil Shane Bowen, bad Shane Bowen. And it's how he dealt with his safeties and what he did with the safeties. When I thought that was going to be the heartbeat of this defense, is safeties doing stuff on the back end. I'm going to take a sip of my drink now. Disguising stuff on the back end, moving safeties around. How Wink Martindale would confuse quarterbacks is by putting 8 guys up on the line and then pulling 4 of them back, pulling 5 of them back, or even bringing 7 or 8, right? That's how Wink Martindale would win. The bill of goods that we were sold on Shane Bowen is that Shane Bowen was going to win by what he does on the back end. Pre-snap to post-snap safety movement, going from cover 1 to cover 3 or cover 2 to whatever the case may be. And taking Tyler Nubin, I thought that was a really, really good sign. A really, really good sign that was going to be the start of it. Like, wow, like this guy, ball production in college, I don't know if that just goes away. And I think that's bad Shane Bowen. I am interested to see if there is a defensive coordinator that can put his players in more advantageous and better situations and better places to make turnovers, make plays on the football. I am interested to see what Tyler Nubin can do. Tyler Nubin has touched a football in his career 3 times. He has 1 pass defense this year against the Eagles. He had 1 pass defense last year against the Tampa Bay Bucks. And he had the touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. That's it. It's all that he's had. So I'm still holding out a little bit of hope for Tyler Nubin. Drew Phillips, also a complicated pick. That was a pick that I didn't really like at the time. Really solid rookie year. Even some of the flaws that he has as a rookie is still some of the flaws that he has in his second year, except it's highlighted more because you lose that rookie shine. Drew Phillips has allowed the second most yards in coverage this year in the slot, only behind rookie Upton Stout from the San Francisco 49ers. Drew Phillips is a playmaker. He makes good plays for this team, but also allows plays to happen. Plus has a bad tendency of being penalized. So I would still say 70th pick of the draft, comp pick, right? Is that comp pick? No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not comp pick. 70th pick of the draft. It's still like successful pick. The dude makes plays. He allows plays. He gets bit in the ass, but he makes plays for this football team. And I can't really, pick and choose. I got to pick and choose my battles in terms of talking about guys that actually do make plays on this team. I got to pick and choose my battles of which guys I'm really gonna poo-poo on. So Drew Phillips, complicated player, had a lot of flaws coming out of Kentucky that I did not like, but overall has exceeded my expectations, but still gets bit in the ass a good amount. Now, this Theo Johnson pick, he has the potential, but has nowhere near hit my expectations, even though statistically it looks a little bit better this year. And I would think their expectations as well. Partially why I had a lot of expectations for Theo Johnson, it's because of Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks, and also, the film and, and what he could evolve to be, right? And the little nuances of what made him good at Penn State of route running and getting separation, which I feel like he hasn't fully done. But especially Hard Knocks, like they talked about him like he was going to be like Bavaro, for crying out loud. They had a ton of expectations for him. And, I don't care what Joe Schoen says in a bye-week presser of listing him as like a foundational piece of this roster. I do not think he is. Stretch of time where he was a good weapon inside the red zone, sure. He's flashed really good hands at times, but the drops have all been killer. The drop rate when you look at Theo Johnson isn't that bad, but he drops the ball for touchdowns and he drops the ball on third down. Every drop feels like it's the worst timed drop it could possibly be because it changes the game and it changes the offense's momentum, right? But besides even the drops, I am so disappointed in Theo Johnson as a yak threat and a yards after the catch threat. So there's a stat on Next Gen player tracking data, yards after the catch over expectation. Theo Johnson is at minus 0.5 yak over expectation, plus minus. The best players in the NFL have a positive yak over expectation. The worst yak players in the NFL have obviously a negative one. So that means every catch that he makes on average, he gets half a yard less after the catch than what he should get. For his size, for his speed and athletic profile, it should not be that bad. That is top 15 worst in the NFL out of all players with at least 43 targets, and that is fourth worst among all tight ends. Like, I'm sorry. The bill of goods that we were sold on Theo Johnson of him being athletic, and again, for his size and speed profile, you should not be top 5 worst among all tight ends in yak. And this isn't Jason Garrett's offense this year. If this was Jason Garrett's offense and we're looking at scheme and holding everybody back, all right. I actually think that this Dable Kafka offense hasn't been the worst when it comes to yak threats. I also don't think that they have good yak threats to begin with. Like even Wandale should be more of a yak threat. Like Khalil Shakir is a much better yak threat than Wandale Robinson is. So very disappointed in Theo Johnson, not just from the drop standpoint, but from an overall playmaker standpoint, and especially after the catch. There is so much left to be desired. Tyron Tracy is a hit, and even Darius Moasow is a hit. But the Darius Moasow pick, I'll let you know why the pick doesn't bug me. What bugs me is their reliance on him. Ryan Dunleavy came on this show in the summer, and it was a small point, but it sticks with me. And he told me they really like him in that building. Like they really think that he can play linebacker. And I'm sitting there being like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This core special teamer, this captain special teamer that they took that had like not even that good film at linebacker. It was all right. He's a day 3 pick, right? Again, this isn't a Darius Moasow problem. This is a Giants problem of he played his rookie year. He played whatever, okay, because everybody started to get hurt. Everybody started to go down. So he had to play linebacker. So then, despite having one of the worst run defenses in the league, even after 2024, the Giants basically run it back at linebacker. They don't make any upgrades, any changes besides Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles and Chris Board, which give me a break. I'm going to eye roll at that. They bring back Bobby Okereke despite having internal questions about him, which if you're listening to the show, you know that they did. Art Stapleton came on the show, and they're like, well, I don't know. He even compared the situation to Blake Martinez. Micah McFadden, fine. And Darius Moasow. Those were your 3 lead linebackers. When they already had the worst run defense in the league. And Ryan Dunleavy came on the show, was like, oh, they really like him. They think he can play linebacker. Really? How's that worked out? Not not that great. So that's a 2024 draft class, which then leads us to the 2025 draft class, which of course brings us to now. Obviously looks pretty decent right now. Abdul Carter finishing the season off really strong. Jackson Dart, dude, let's see what happens. I hope that they keep him. I think he's a foundational piece. Even like that, I think he's kind of taking a little personally that there's these rumors of people are saying that he shouldn't be the guy, that they should take Mendoza. Seems like he's taken more of a vocal leadership role. I've seen a lot of the reporters talk about that. Darius Alexander, an older prospect that's already 25 years old, and he's playing a position that usually takes time to develop. It usually takes these defensive linemen, these interior guys, 2 to 3 to 4 years to fully break out. Travis Jones from UConn is a really good example. Dexter Lawrence from the New York Football Giants is a really good example of that as well. Sometimes it just takes these guys time to break out. They drafted an older prospect at a position that takes time to develop. And I think that's what you're going to see with Darius Alexander. So is he really going to be 27, 28 years old and have his breakout year? I don't know. That was the 65th pick of the draft. They obviously traded away a third-round pick to get they traded away a third-round pick this year to get Jackson Dart. They traded away their second-round pick. That was pick 36. That was Jaden Higgins of the Houston Texans. I really like him. He's really good. Cam Scadaboo, obviously, good. We'll see as time goes on. You always look at rookie classes with rose-colored glasses. Marcus Bowe, good for a rookie. If he does some of the same shit that he's doing now, we're going to hate him a lot more. And if he has to play in year 2, you're not going to like Marcus Bowe because that's just how evaluations work. Thomas Fidone, Hurt, and Corey Black, not good. They cut him and then they brought him back because Deontay Banks is awful. So there you go. That's the draft classes. And we're about 36 minutes in, 37 minutes in. And, honestly, I think that's a good pace because draft classes is how you build. We all know this, right? Draft classes is how you build. Draft classes is the difference between having even good and great teams and being god awful like the Giants are, right? It's not even the difference of being good and great. So we know that the draft classes are the backbones of every NFL team. Just went through all of them. The biggest home runs. Let's go. Who is the best pick that the Giants have had outside of the first round picks? Outside of Kayvon Thibodeau, outside of Deontay Banks, outside of Malik Neighbors, and outside of Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart. Do not count this year. Because I know you would want to say Cam Scadaboo. Who was the best day 2 and day 3 pick that they had? I don't think you could say anybody from 2024. Maybe Tyrone Tracy. Maybe. He's in the running. Maybe Drew Phillips, but we're talking about Drew Phillips being one of the best day 2, day 3 draft picks of Joe Schoen, yet he's allowed the second most yards allowed in coverage in the slot this year. And he's been penalized so many times. Like, are we really going to say it's Wandale? Are we really going to say it's Cordell Flott? Are we really going to say Micah McFadden? Like, those are the best day 2 and day 3 picks that you've had through 4 years. Wandale, who we're not sure we should pay money to. Cordell Flott, that took 4 years to fully be like a capable starter. Micah McFadden? Are you serious? So I don't even know. I guess I don't even know. Like I'm going to look at the chat really quick. McFadden and Tracy, Wandale or Cordell Flott. So I wonder. I wonder who you think is the best day 2, day 3 pick for Joe Schoen, because I think it's debatable, and I don't think there's a clear answer. So now I want to get to the free agency classes. So that's what I want to do now. I'm going to start with the 2022 free agents, and I'm going to remove Jeff. If you can remove that bottom part because it blocks off a little bit. I don't think I'm going to spend a ton of time on free agents. The main thing here. Oh, this is what I do want to mention before we get to free agents, because I kind of include like extensions with free agency too. Heading into the 2022 seasons, I believe. Was it heading into the 2022 season? Or was it 2023? Anyway, Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence extended, which that is huge. Huge, huge, huge. 2 of Joe Schoen's best moves and best extensions, right? Definitely the biggest money that he's handed out extension-wise, right? Getting those guys, I think, what is Dexter Lawrence? Dexter Lawrence is 11th out of 256 players on an interior defensive line. Andrew Thomas is 6th out of left tackles, according to Over the Cap, in terms of AAV and what they're getting per year, right? So that is huge. Those contracts are really good. Those contracts are manageable. That Dexter Lawrence contract, low-key could be too good because it's making Dexter Lawrence mad that he's not getting enough money. And if Joe Schoen does remain as general manager, I really do think Dexter Lawrence is going to request a trade from the Giants, and we will hear that in March if Joe Schoen remains as general manager, unless a new head coach can come in and really get in his ear and really convince him and really lovey-dovey him, or even John Mara could lovey-dovey Dexter Lawrence. I don't know. I just think that relationship is not good right now. Like that, and I think it's because the contract is too good for the Giants. It's too good of a value. So that's what he did. And in terms of free agency classes / extensions, I do want to mention the Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence extensions. I think they happened at the start of 2023, so I think I'm wrong. So I apologize about that. But 2022. Mark Lewinsky was the biggest free agent signing, obviously at $18.3 million total, 3 years. He was cut after 2 years. That's tough because he was the big money free agent. The Giants had no money. They were in cap hell. Gettleman left Joe Schoen off in a really bad spot. And if there's one thing that I really do respect Joe Schoen, like we're going to go through these free agency classes, and I really don't think there's any contract, there's any player that's like so backbreaking that is like, oh my God, this has costed the team so much cap space, and it's really hurt them in their ability to grow and their ability to spend. That there really isn't that player. So a positive for Joe Schoen is that. But also, show me the wins. Show me the wins. Like Dave Gettleman in the 2020 offseason, Blake Martinez and James Bradbury. Like those were 2 major wins. Adoree Jackson was a win of a free agent signing. Show me the major wins. Tyrod Taylor was a win, but they mistreated him. They mismanaged him. Tyrod Taylor hates the Giants because they chose to start Tommy DeVito and Vibes over a good quality backup NFL quarterback. They won football games with Tyrod Taylor. They disrespected him, and then he left. I would have loved for Tyrod Taylor to possibly stay. I think Tyrod Taylor could have possibly competed with Daniel Jones, maybe not preseason, but could have probably looked much better than Drew Lock, and they would have pulled the plug on Daniel Jones a lot sooner in 2024, and then maybe the Giants would have had some sort of season in 2024. I don't know. Just the thought. Tyrod Taylor, good free agent signing, hit the open market after 2023 because they disrespected him and they put Tommy DeVito in instead of him. John Feliciano, they didn't have a center on the roster heading into the 2023 season. Then they took JMS, but they didn't have a center. So they signed him for 1 year for $3.25 million. He was okay, right? He wasn't very good. But then he signs with the San Francisco 49ers for a whole $1 million less than what he got with the Giants in 2022. Again, I think that's bad process. And then you could still draft JMS just because you have John Feliciano back on the team for $2.5 million a year, right? Because if the Giants sensed that his market wasn't that good at all, you could bring him back, and they didn't. Said he went to the 49ers, like I said, for $1 million less in 2023. You could still take JMS, and then if anything, John Feliciano is competing with Mark Lewinsky for the guard job. That would have been nice. Not very good players, but Lewinsky eventually does get benched and Lewinsky gets cut. Feliciano, I think, would have been a better guard than Mark Lewinsky. I'm pretty sure Feliciano was like starting for the 49ers at guard during like competing football time for them heading into the playoffs and heading into the postseason for them. Jihad Ward was signed for $1 million. Like that was a good contract. And then he signed a 1-year extension after the 2022 season, was not brought back for Shane Bowen. Ironically enough, I think he would have fit. Jihad Ward for quite a while was like one of our best run defending edge rushers. And I think over 2024, maybe even 2025, he's with the Tennessee Titans right now, earning a contract that's a very similar amount as to what he signed with the Giants over those 2 years. I still think that maybe they could have used him. Am I crying over Jihad Ward not being back? No. Do I think that they maybe could have? Yes. Richie James was a home run, a 1 year, $1 million, hit the open market after 2022, signed with the Chiefs, and then recently just retired. Richie James is one of the reasons why I think that Wan'Dale Robinson's role is replaceable, because Richie James actually provided good value for. I think he's an example of how you can find good value at the slot position. That's what I'm trying to say. Matt Breida, good backup running back. Signed that 1 year deal, signed another 1 year extension after that. And then Justin Ellis, Ricky Seals-Jones never played. Jamil Douglas never played. Robert Foster didn't play. And then Justin Ellis was bad. So that's the 2022 free agency class. They couldn't really do that much. And they didn't have money. So this is the first one, 2023. First one where Joe Schoen can really put his stamp on the roster, right? And the top three aren't horrible, but I hate the way that they've gone about the paths of these three players, especially at the top, right? So Bobby Okereke was 4 for 40. If released this offseason, Okereke is going to save the Giants $9 million in cap space and carry a dead cap hit of $5.4 million. I do expect that to happen. I was, again, certain points of this offseason where I thought that Bobby Okereke wouldn't even make the 53-man roster this year. Thought he was valuable because the Giants chose to not make any other upgrades at linebacker, which is baffling to me. I was rooting for him to make it, but also a part of me was surprised that he did make it at certain points. I just don't like how they knew that there were effort questions even dating back to 2024. He was one of those veterans that was reportedly kind of slacking off and really feeling the effects of not winning and all that kind of stuff, right? And then they have these internal questions. They have these internal doubts about him. They bring him back. They don't make any other upgrades. And now Bobby Okereke, despite having, his first year being really, really good, I look at it as an overall negative, Bobby Okereke, even though there was one good year in there. And there was a really, really good year, borderline all-pro, right? But never able to replicate that or even get close to that from what he did in 2023. A'Shawn Robinson, good free agent signing. The only problem is that they should have brought him back. Had a 1 year, $5 million contract, $4 million of it guaranteed. The only problem is that he signed with the Panthers for 3 years at only $2.5 million more per year than when he got from the Giants. Maybe the Giants didn't feel comfortable giving him a 3-year deal, but technically that probably only would have been 2 years. I would have loved bringing back A'Shawn Robinson. Or I would have not given Nacho a 3-year contract for $12 million, and I would have just simply given that to A'Shawn Robinson. I would have loved if A'Shawn Robinson was signed for a 3-year, $14 million contract. And even though he can't, even from the Rams, he was pretty damn good. He was strong. He was a good run defender. I would have understood the assignment. I would have understood his assignment of being a run defender and that he wasn't going to get after the quarterback. If you simply just give that contract to A'Shawn Robinson that you gave to Nacho, maybe even a couple million more, I feel a lot better. Instead, Nacho's been here for the last 3 years. His deal does expire after 2025, so he has seen the full lifeline of his deal, except he just hasn't been that good, right? He's fun. He brings energy. I would have loved for him to be a 1-year guy that then you continue to bring back. Why couldn't you sign Nacho to $4 million for the last 3 years for 1 year if you really like him that much? Instead, A'Shawn Robinson was here for 1 year in 2023. The last time that the run defense was somewhat decent, okay. I don't even think it was that good under Wink either, but A'Shawn Robinson made plays for you as an interior defensive lineman, especially after you trade away Leonard Williams. And he only got $2.5 million more per year than when he got for the Giants initially. And then he played well for you. So there's that. Then Paris Campbell, what a disaster. 20 catches across 12 games, and he's had 6 catches the last 2 years, and all of them came in 2024. He's on the Cowboys now. He was on the Eagles last year, obviously. Won a Super Bowl champion, Paris Campbell. And then on the Cowboys. So all he needs to do is somehow make a stop at the Commanders, and then he'll do the whole NFC East tour after going on the Colts. Jamison Crowder didn't make the 53-man roster. He was a Commander last year. Would have been nice to have a proper return guy in 2020. He was on the Commanders in 2023. Would have been nice to have a proper return guy that year. Remember 2023? That was the year that we had problems at returner because I guess they were banking on Eric Gray. They eventually, I think they bring in Gunner and Amir Smith-Marset. I think this is the year. If you just kept Jamison Crowder on the roster, would have been fine. Instead, they chose to keep Sterling Shepard on the roster as well. There's Bobby McCain, Tommy Sweeney as well. Bobby McCain was a horrible signing. And then, Amani Aroria. How can you forget him? Never played a game for the Giants. Other notable offseason acquisitions, they extended Daniel Jones. They tagged Saquon Barkley. Darius Slayton was extended for 2 years. Graham Gano extended for 3 years. $5.5 million per year. How do you like that? The 2023 offseason, heading into 2023, after they gave him that extension, Graham Gano has been hurt every single year for them. That has been a nice waste of over $15 million. Just cap space, just thrown down the drain, and it's costed the Giants games. Like I said, Sterling Shepard returned for one more season, and Julian Love left for the Seattle Seahawks, getting a really good contract and being a heartbeat and a lifeline on that defense. Terrific. The Daniel Jones extension doesn't even bother me all that much. In the way that the Giants have approached the quarterback position has never bothered me as much as it's bothered other people. Because I just think the rest of the roster is just so awful that I always I gave them a little grace at quarterback because of that situation. It was very unique. It was the first time ever that a quarterback on their was declined on their 5th-year option and then had a year like he did. It's the first time that ever happened, right? So I don't even give them a lot of flack for that. It's just the rest of the roster that's shit and not good. 2024 free agents. This is where you see Joe Schoen's best deal. And I think Jermaine Illuminor is the best free agent signing. Forget value. It is the best value, number one. But number two, it's just the best player that he has signed, that he has brought in. And I even like that you saw the behind-the-scenes dealings of Hard Knocks. I think they had Jermaine Illuminor ranked higher than John Runyon. They viewed him as a better football player, which he is. He is a better football player. He's a better offensive lineman than John Runyon, even though they gave John Runyon more money. So they read the market correctly. They didn't give Jermaine Illuminor as much money as maybe they actually valued him. And it worked out great. Now I just hope that they bring him back. He has an expiring contract after 2025, but I do have a feeling that if I have a feeling he's not going to be back regardless. I think they want Marcus Bowe to start at right tackle, even though I don't think that's the right move for 2026. So Jermaine Illuminor, the best signing by far for Joe Schoen. John Runyon, good signing, especially considering that the interior offensive line market has really started to explode going back to 2023, 2024. It especially exploded. These interior offensive linemen and guards were getting a shit ton of money, 15, 16, 17, almost 20 million a year. And the Giants got John Runyon at a good bargain. But you want to know what? That's the type of player that he is, though. He's a $10 million a year guy. I don't think they necessarily got a steal. I just think considering the market, John Runyon is a good player. The Giants are going to save almost $10 million in cap space if they cut him after this year and incur a $2.5 million dead cap hit. I would keep him for the sake of you already need a right guard with Greg Van Roten. You may need a right tackle if Jermaine Illuminor is gone. I would keep John Runyon for the purpose of he's just a dude and he's capable and you know what you're going to get. He's been relatively healthy. He's been relatively reliable. I would keep him around. I think it's worth the low cap hit. I think it's worth having a starting guard that you can kind of bank on. Drew Lock, bad. Devin Singletary, fine. He's probably going to get cut. Giants are going to save $5.25 million in cap space. I don't love that, immediately after being we're not going to re-sign Saquon Barkley, we're not going to pay him money, you immediately go and give a running back $16.5 million a year. I don't fully love that. Chris Manhertz was good. He was extended for this year. Really good blocking tight end, especially really felt his impact in 2024, not as much in 2025. And then the rest of the guys that they had as well. The other notable offseason moves, obviously McKinney left for the Green Bay Packers. I would have loved to have Xavier McKinney back. I think that was a huge mistake. Saquon Barkley left for Philly. People have their opinions on that. I'm okay with that. He feels like an Eagle. They extended Gunnar Olszewski, Nick McLeod, Casey Kreider, Carter Coughlin. I think that's it in terms of other notable moves, not counting the trades. We will get to the trades. We will get to the Brian Burns trade in that contract. But one more free agency class, and that's this year. Paulson Adebo, 3 for 54. The cap hit jumps to $24 million next year after being relatively low this year. The earliest the team could realistically move on from him is 2027, the final year of his deal. However, I still have Paulson Adebo, and Javon Holland. I'll put them in the same boat here. Defensive coordinator, bad again. Like I still like those players. I still like bringing them on board. I would have preferred Xavier McKinney and Julian Love over Javon Holland. I still like them. I still think they could be good. Just get a defensive coordinator that's going to put them in positions to make plays, right? So very similarly, especially Paulson Adebo, just playing so much, giving so much cushion, just hurts a player like Paulson Adebo. James Hudson, horrible. Like, I would say, is this the worst contract? This and Mark Lewinsky, are these the two worst contracts that Joe Schoen has given out? Because it's going to, I don't think they can move on from him unless it is going to cost the team $2 million to release James Hudson plus a $6 million dead cap charge. I think I'm right with that because he signed a 2-year deal. That like almost doesn't even make sense to me. No, I'm wrong. Fuck. I fucked that up. They're going to say $5.5 million this year, and then they'll have to eat $2.3 million because he signed a 2-year deal. So James Hudson's going to get cut. So please ignore that. But 2-year, $12 million, $6 million guaranteed. They're going to cut him this offseason. Very, very bad. Roy Robertson Harris. I did not like this signing even when it happened. I thought that Jeremiah Ledbetter, interior defensive lineman from Seattle and Jacksonville, had better film than him. But Roy Robertson Harris was given more money. 2 years for $9 million, $5 million guaranteed. We'll see if he's on the team next year as well. Chauncey Golston, I still like the player. He's just been hurt and banged up this year. And then you see the rest. So I'm going to get to the trades now. Because this is where it gets a little fun. And this is where I feel like Joe Schoen honestly hasn't been that bad. So the draft trade in 2022 for Wan'Dale Robinson, where they eventually get Wan'Dale Robinson. So they initially had the 36th pick, but they're going to trade back twice. So then they get the 38th pick. They're going to get the 146th overall pick, which eventually ends up being Micah McFadden. Then they have the 38th pick. They're going to trade back to 43. They get the 114th pick overall. That ends up being Dane Belton. Good. I like that. I thought we were going to see more out of that of Joe Schoen. It would have been nice if we started to see a little bit more out of that Joe Schoen, not just talking about the first round, but even if he, like, that's what Howie Roseman does. And that's how Howie Roseman just evolves and gets all this draft capital. Is my camera blurry right now? This is kind of crazy. I would have loved if Joe Schoen continued that trend of just acquiring more day 3 picks, because the draft is a lottery, right? And the more darts that you have to throw, the more lottery tickets you buy, the better chance that you have at actually hitting and actually being successful. And those two trades were actually really good, right? Getting Micah McFadden and getting Dane Belton almost for free, and you still get a player in Wan'Dale Robinson that has contributed through 4 years. That's a win. And Joe Schoen has not done any of that since. Has not traded back, has not tried to manipulate the board like that, which sucks. Really cool that in the middle of the season, you trade away Kadarius Toney for a 3rd round compensatory pick. That was the 100th pick of the draft. You also got a 2024 6th round comp pick, which wound up being Trey Hawkins. That trade is still a win. I don't care. Kadarius Toney, even if Darren Waller wasn't good, even if Trey Hawkins isn't on the team anymore, it's still a win because they could have cut Kadarius Toney at that point. The fact that they got something for him that was that significant was crazy. And then obviously you get they trade away the 100th overall pick for Darren Waller that they got for Kadarius Toney. That is still, I think, good. It's good process for that, especially for that time, for what that team needed. Hell, Joe Schoen even looks good because Darren Waller looked good in Miami this year. So, all right, let's move on to the next page of trades. You have another draft day trade, which, of course, this is for Deonte Banks. They move up one spot from 25 to 24. They trade away their 160th overall pick in that draft 2023. It was a 5th round pick, and then they traded away a 7th round pick. Makes the draft look even worse. Like I said, when you traded away those pieces, and then you got a really bad piece in return in your guy. Joe Schoen traded up and got his guy. Were the Jacksonville Jaguars really going to take Deonte Banks with pick 24? I don't know. We certainly didn't really hear any rumors about that. 2023 3rd round pick. They had pick 89. That's what they had initially. No, excuse me. No, they had pick 89 They also had the 128th pick, and that is what they sent away, and they went up to pick 73. They trade up 16 spots to get Jalen Hyatt. Now, if you're wondering, Justin, in the 2023 draft, what were those picks that they traded away? So they traded away pick 89. Pick 89 wound up being Colby Turner. Oh, wow. Wow, from the Los Angeles Rams. How do you like that? That's more salt on the wound. DeMarvion Overshown, really good linebacker from the Dallas Cowboys, even though he's been hurt a lot. Those were the next two picks that were taken. Jordan Battle, another DB from the Bengals, was taken too. Ricky Stromberg was an offensive lineman at the time, taken at 97. So there were certainly some options there the Giants could have taken instead of Jalen Hyatt, or let's just say Jalen Hyatt comes off the board. I would have been fine with some of those other players, especially Colby Turner at pick 89. Oh boy, hell yeah. That would have been nice. That would have been really nice. And then they traded away the 160th overall pick for Deonte Banks. That's what they gave up. Who was the 160th pick? It was Antonio Johnson from Jacksonville. Chase Brown was the 163rd pick. Will Mallory, the tight end from the Colts, was 162nd. So nobody really noteworthy there. And then the 240th pick, who was that, if you were asking? Well, I'll tell you. It was Derek Parrish, a defensive lineman from the Jaguars. Anthony Johnson, really good cornerback from the Green Bay Packers, safety, went pick 242 right before Jordan Riley was picked. Great job, guys. Awesome work. Awesome work. And then you get to two kind of like low leverage deals that were done in August. Isaiah Simmons and Boogie Basham they acquired. 7th round pick for Isaiah Simmons, very successful. Isaiah Simmons was a key piece in that a sort of key piece in that 2023 defense as like a blitzer, special teamer, had that blocked kick, which ultimately led to the Seattle Seahawks win, the best win of the 2023 season. Plus a good blitzer and a solid, okay defensive player as a linebacker. Very worth the 7th round pick, Isaiah Simmons. And then the trade for Boogie Basham, where they traded a 7th round pick for and Boogie. They got Boogie Basham and a 7th round pick for a 6th round pick. That was bad. Boogie Basham is very bad. So I do not like that trade. Very bad trade. Final page of trades. The Leonard Williams trade. This was very, very good. It was good. I love Leonard Williams. I miss Leonard Williams. I wish that he was on the team, but this was still a good trade because they got a 2024 2nd round pick that they wound up taking Tyler Nubin for. But also the fact that they had 2 2nd round picks made it even better and sweeter to actually go and get Brian Burns, which we will talk about. But the 2025 5th round pick they used on Marcus Bowe. Pretty damn good. That's a nice return, right? Tyler Nubin and Marcus Bowe. We'll see what Tyler Nubin turns into as they move on to the next general manager. March 11th, my birthday. How do you like that? Brian Burns traded for on my birthday. 2nd round pick and a 2025 5th round pick. Gave to the Panthers for pass rusher Brian Burns. I even want to look at this too. The Brian Burns contract starting to look really good. Where does he rank among other edge rushers? He ranks 10th, which for a guy that's going to get me 16 and a half sacks, may not do that every year, but it's starting to look like a steal. There's going to be other edge rushers that are going to be paid. Brian Burns is under contract until 2028, and he will be turning 30, which I still feel like he has a lot of good football left in him. And then, of course, the trade for Jackson Dart, which they wound up giving their 2nd round pick for, the 2025 third. That's going to, what was that? Pick 99. Let's look at that. Pick 99. Who did that wound up being? You win if you get it before me. That wound up being Cam Kinchins. Wow. Also from the Rams. How do you like that? How do you like them apples? And then also why we don't have a 3rd round pick this year, and we only have 2. We only have 2 top 100 picks this year, I believe. It is because that we gave up the 2026 3rd rounder for Jackson Dart, and then got a nice little 6th round pick from the Miami Dolphins for Darren Waller. Thanks, Miami. All right, that's basically it. That's every move, almost every move. I missed UDFAs, and producer Jeff sent me UDFAs. Tommy DeVito is most notable out of that. 2022. I still think Bryce Ford Wheaton and Tommy DeVito are the two most notable UDFAs. And also Elijah Chapman. Those are the most notable. You're seeing Dalen Cambery on the roster right now, still running around doing some good stuff. Bo Collins was a notable UDFA. But yeah, DeVito, Elijah Chapman, and Bryce Ford Wheaton are the three best UDFAs that Joe Schoen has had. So that's it. What do you think? Just went through every move. Think he deserves to keep his job? We'll see. We're going to talk about that on Friday. We're going to talk about, we know that he doesn't deserve to keep his job, but we're going to talk about on Friday with Sean Morash about if he's going to. No rumors. It's Tuesday night. It'll be Wednesday. It'll be New Year's Eve. Happy New Year to all of you. And no rumors, no rumblings on if his job is in jeopardy at all, despite being the worst team in the NFL over the last 2 years. So we'll see you on Friday. Hope you enjoyed this. Just talked for an hour and 6 minutes by myself. See you Friday.